Welcome to The Responsible Resident. I'm Amber Stitt. This podcast takes a common sense approach to financial decisions for physicians, breaking down complex topics into something clear, practical, and usable. Because you shouldn't have to have a finance degree to build financial freedom. Thank you for listening to the first series of The Responsible Resident. I'm Amber Stitt, a disability insurance specialist and co-owner of MD Disability Quotes. For over 15 years, I've worked with physicians and business owners nationwide, helping them understand how disability insurance contracts work and how to design coverage that supports their careers long-term. But before any of this became my profession, it became personal. When I was younger, my family experienced a tragedy that changed how I viewed life very early on. Losing my younger brother created an awareness that life can change in an instant, and that the decisions we postpone today can become the decisions we wish we had made earlier. I think that experience is one of the reasons I care so deeply about helping people create more resilience in their lives. Not fear, not perfection, resilience. Because life eventually throws curveballs at all of us in different ways. Financial planning does not prevent hardship, but thoughtful preparation can create more options, more stability, and more peace of mind during difficult seasons. Over time, I realized that helping people chip away at the responsible things they know they should do for themselves, their families, and their future became part of my calling. That's really what this podcast has been about. Throughout this series, we've talked about how disability insurance works. We've walked through contract design, riders, features, underwriting, how to evaluate options, and how to choose the right advisor. But at the end of the day, this isn't just about contracts. It's about people. It's about protecting the life you're building. And for physicians, that life is often built on years of sacrifice, years of training, years of delayed income, years of responsibility that most people will never fully understand. You are building a career that carries both opportunity and risk. And what I've seen over time is that many physicians are incredibly skilled in their profession, but they're not always given clear guidance when it comes to protecting what they've built. There's often confusion. There's noise. There are competing opinions. And sometimes there's pressure to make decisions quickly without fully understanding the long-term impact. That's where I've chosen to focus my work. Not just selling a product, but helping bring clarity to decisions that have long-term consequences. Because disability insurance is not something you think about every day. But when it's needed, it becomes one of the most important decisions you've ever made. And I've seen both sides of that. I've seen what happens when a contract is designed thoughtfully, when someone has coverage that aligns with their career, their income, and their goals. And I've also seen what happens when decisions were made without enough information, when assumptions were made, when details were missed, when someone thought they had coverage but didn't fully understand how it would perform. And those moments matter, because at that point, you don't get to go back and redesign the contract. You're relying on the decisions that were made years earlier. That reality is what drives how I approach this work. It's why I focus on education first. It's why I believe you shouldn't have to have a finance degree to understand how to protect your income, your family, or your future. And it's why I believe the role of an advisor is not just to present options, but to help you think clearly about what those options actually mean for your life. I'd like to take a second to tell you about a free medical professionals blueprint that I created with you in mind. At some point in your career, you realize it's not just about making more money. It's about making decisions that actually support your life. That's exactly why I created the Pathways Perspective for Physicians. It's a simple, non-technical framework to help you think through your career, your money, your risk, and how everything connects as your life evolves. You shouldn't have to have a finance degree to build financial freedom. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need a place to start. You can download the free Medical Professionals Blueprint at stittstrategies.com/blueprint. After more than 15 years in the financial services industry, I've also learned something important. Not every financial decision can be solved by software projections, historical data, or generic planning tools. Those things can absolutely help, but they cannot fully define what matters most to you. Because some of the most important decisions in life are deeply personal. They involve your family, your goals, your values, your vision for the future, your tolerance for risk. And I believe being responsible means making the effort to learn enough to participate in those decisions within your own learning style. Not everyone learns the same way. Some people need visuals, some need conversations, some need time to process and think. That's okay. But we all have the ability to lean in and participate in the process instead of defaulting decisions entirely to someone else. My goal has never been to tell physicians what they should value. My goal is to help physicians empower themselves with enough clarity and education so they can decide what is right for their own homes, their own families, and their own futures. Because true financial planning is about you taking control and creating options. And when people understand their choices more clearly, they often make calmer, more confident decisions that align with the life they actually want to build. For physicians, especially during residency and fellowship, you're making decisions at a time when your income is lower, but your future earning potential is high. And those early decisions can shape what's available to you later. That's why timing matters. That's why structure matters. And that's why clarity matters. My goal has always been to meet physicians where they are, to simplify what can feel complex, and to help you make decisions that you can feel confident about long term. Not perfect decisions, but informed ones. Because confidence doesn't come from having every possible feature. It comes from understanding how your plan works and knowing it was built intentionally. And this work extends beyond physicians. We also work with business owners and professionals whose financial lives are tied to performance, growth, and long-term sustainability. The common thread is responsibility. Responsibility to your work, to your family, to your future. And protecting that responsibility is not always the most visible part of financial planning, but it is one of the most foundational. If you've listened to this series, my hope is that you now have a clearer understanding of how disability insurance works, not just at a surface level, but how the pieces come together, how to evaluate options, how to think about structure, and how to approach these decisions with more clarity. Because at the end of the day, this work is about more than disability insurance. It's about resilience. It's about stewardship. It's about protecting your ability to continue building a meaningful life, even when life does not go according to plan. You do not need to have everything figured out today, but you do deserve the opportunity to make informed decisions with clarity, intention, and confidence. If you'd like help thinking through your own situation, you're always welcome to connect with our team. My partner, Scott Nelson Archer, and I work with physicians nationwide through MD Disability Quotes to help residents, fellows, and attendings design income protection strategies that align with their careers. Our goal is to provide a clear, independent perspective so you can make responsible decisions about protecting your future earning power. If this series helped you take even one meaningful step forward, then it accomplished exactly what I hoped it would. Thank you for being part of the Responsible Resident. And wherever you are in your journey, I hope you continue to make decisions that support not just your career, but the life you're building around it. Thanks for listening, and please be sure to give us a follow so you'll be notified when we release more educational content like today's podcast. If this episode helped you think a little more clearly about your next step, that's the goal. You don't need to have everything figured out, but you do need to take ownership and take a meaningful step forward today. Thanks for listening to The Responsible Resident. As a reminder, this podcast is for general educational purposes only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, and coverage options will vary based on your personal situation.